Okay. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Looks like we have a small group and we might have some people trickling in, but we're excited to chat with everyone today. Okay. Well, welcome for today's Cocoa with Carrie. I'm Principal Carrie Reckling, and then I'm joined by the assistant principals at IMS, Teresa Cowan and Becky Mulvane. Thank you for being here, and it's nice to see some parents, so thank you for joining us. I'm going to scroll down. What I thought I'd do is we had just a few questions submitted to the pre-submission link, so I'll cover those at the end. If you have any questions that you have that you'd like answered, please type them into the chat. It will come to us as the host, and then we will make sure to answer those at the end. But I thought we would start by chatting through the end of the year IMS calendar. So a lot of these are 8th grade events, so please know that we're going to have a very specific e-news that comes out by end of the day tomorrow that covers a lot of this information as well. So I just wanted to give you a preview, and then know that there's lots more information coming relative to these events. So let's go ahead and start. These are kind of the last 2 weeks of school and the outside of our normal schedule situations I included on this. And then I'm happy to answer any questions relative to this. So starting on June 9th, so June 9th is the Wednesday before school gets out, we are going to have an on-site 8th grade SEL lesson activity for any students that feel comfortable coming to campus. This is obviously optional. The time is a little bit different. It's 11:30 to 1. We are currently working on transportation opportunities, so that should be figured out soon so that we can include that in the information that we're sending out. And actually, I'm planning to send it out by the end of the day today. But we're kind of keeping that a little bit of a surprise for right now, more information to come. But the idea is that we wanted to have one event that for all 8th graders that possibly wanted to come on site, we could do that socially distanced in a safe way, and have a time for our 8th graders to be together at least one time this year. Because right now we've only had the 2 different alpha groups. So a lot of them have not seen any of their certain groups of their peers at all this year. So that is being planned. It will just be between 11:30 to 1. We will have some different events that will be fun. I guess my biggest hint, it will be similar to what we've done in the past for our end of the year parties, where there's different events in different locations. We're going to do them as much as we can outside, except for in the commons. So there'll be things to do in the courtyard, things to do outside in the sport court, and things to do out on the field, all socially distanced and with masks on. So more information to come, but I wanted to put that on calendars for those of you with 8th graders. 11:30 to 1 on June 9th will be an optional on-site SEL activity to help encourage social emotional wellness with our 8th graders. And then I'm going to make sure I have the chat open so I can see questions as they pop up. For this year, we're focusing on our 8th graders because we had a question about is that there was a plan to do this for 6th and 7th graders, but this year we're focusing on that just for our 8th graders because they are leaving us. And so that's kind of the capacity that we have for this year. So that's the group we're focusing on for that end of the year activity. And traditionally, we always have an activity or activities of some kind just for our 8th graders as part of like the celebration and their promotion piece. And so a few different pieces of that in this schedule are relative to that 8th grade only kind of lens. So June 8th, 9th, and 10th, just a heads up that will be when we will start having textbooks returned. And so group A will return those on June 8th during lunch. And then remote students will be able to drop by between 3 and 6 to return their books the next day on June 9th. And then group B on their day on the 10th will happen during lunch as well. They can return their books. And then if anyone misses those times, then please just plan to drop them off at the office as soon as you can, or during our regular office hours every day. We can welcome those at any time. Next up would be the following week on Monday and Tuesday, the 14th and the 15th. So that will be the 2 days that we plan to pass out our school yearbooks. And so group A will get them on Monday, 6/14 at the end of day. And due to our current protocols, we are not encouraging any type of signing on site. And so we're going to ask students to just take their yearbooks, take them home, and then what they choose to do at home or in their neighborhoods they're welcome to do. But we didn't have big signing pages because the yearbooks are different this year. So yearbooks are for students to get at the end of the day and then to take home. Group B will get their yearbooks at the end of 7th period on Tuesday, the 15th. And then any remote students that ordered yearbooks will be able to pick up between 3 and 6 p.m. through our parent loop. We'll have a drive-through pickup that you can swing by and pick those up if you ordered a yearbook and would like to get that. And again, if you miss the yearbook distribution on those days, you're welcome to stop by on the 16th or the 17th as well during our office hours, and we can get you your yearbook if you ordered one. Okay, June 15th is our digital promotion. That is for 8th grade. So we'll do this very similar to what we have done last year, where we have a digital video that will be posted at 6 p.m. on the 15th. And that will include a lot of our traditional elements of our promotion activity, where we have student speakers. Our ASB 8th grade students will MC the event. We'll have some musical performances by some of our 8th graders. There will be lots of opportunities to celebrate. We have a slideshow with all of the pictures. So lots of different pieces to that will be put together into that video, which will be posted at 6 p.m. on YouTube. And then families and students can watch that with whoever they would like at their leisure. And then now it's the 16th, the end of the year video will happen. And then we also have an 8th grade drive and wave event that day. So the end of the year video, that will happen during our regular SEL time. The SEL lesson that day will include an end of the year video, and our digital talent show will be shown. It'll be the last time that our SEL classes, the homeroom classes, will get together and say goodbye to each other. And that's all remote, all together online. And then that afternoon, no, that's the correct time. Sorry, I had a quick brain freeze. But in the afternoon from 1 to 3, we're going to have an 8th grade drive and wave event. So for those 8th graders that won't be returning to us. So stay tuned for more information. We'll have like a specific driving pattern that families can come and drive through should they want to come through. And teachers will be lined up with, cards and posters and canopies. Will line up and just be able to wave and say goodbye to people in person should they choose to want to come and participate with that. We will have an alpha breakdown so that we can help kind of space out the families that come on campus. So that will be between 1 and 3 that afternoon if you want to add that to your calendars, if that's something that you would like to do. And then the last piece here is just the last week of school schedule. I just wanted to put all those dates together since it is slightly different than normal. So starting on June 14th, the Monday, we will have a full day for Group A, just like normal. However, Tuesday, rather than still being a Group A day, will be Group B's last full day. So Group B will come on Tuesday, the 15th. Then on the 16th, like I mentioned, we'll have the remote SEL with the videos that will be shared as our end of the year all school celebration. And then our very last day of school is only a 2-hour day from 8 to 10. And that is just going to be the only students that can come on site that day are Group B. And everybody else can Zoom in from home should they choose. And it's kind of just going to be a say goodbye to teachers, hang out one more time, and that'll be what we do on those days. I do want to say this is the end of the year schedule as of now, just because there are district discussions around a possible four-day return if we can get there. And so just know that we will update if some of these changes from Group A to B to everyone. We'll give you some updated information on that relative to what we'll do in those situations. So I had a few questions come in. Let me see if I missed them. We had a good question. So here, someone asked for textbook return. Can remote students who are coming to campus on 6/9 for the SEL event return their books then, or do they need to come back a few hours later to do so? That's a great point. We'll plan to have a spot that if they're coming to that 8th grade event on site, they can just turn in their textbooks as they check in. That's a great idea. Let's see. And then what group, we had a question, what is Group A versus Group B? That is, Group A is our A through KOT last names. They come on Mondays and Tuesdays of each week, and then KOTH through Z last names come on Thursday and Friday of each week. So it's our same Group A and Group B that we're currently operating under. It will just, so A through KOT, KOTH through Z is Group B. And then I have another just general questions that we'll get to in just a minute. Anything else relative to the end of the year? Oh, we had a question on the return to school laptops. When are we going to have the laptop return? That will start. Will you help me remember, Ms. Cowan? I think it's the last day of school that starts.
Yes, 17th, 18th, and then the following Monday. Yeah.
Perfect. So that will be happening through our main pickup loop the 17th. There will be some open hours that you can do that on that Thursday, Friday as well, same hours, and then the following Monday additionally will be the laptop return. And it'll be a drive-through situation that you can drive through during those times and pop up.
And the times, Carrie, are from 9 to 2:30 on the Friday, and looking at the Monday, same thing, 9 to 2:30 on the Monday, the 21st.
And how about the 17th?
Yeah, I don't have that one on my calendar.
Okay, that's the one. I think because we're in school, it would likely be slightly later.
It actually is also 9 to 2:30 on the Thursday, the 17th.
Oh, okay. So there will be some drive-through stuff happening there. Okay, sounds good. And then I had a question if the talent show is going to be part of the YouTube video. The talent show will be played as part of the SEL video because it's not necessarily just our 8th grade students. So it won't be, I mean, it will eventually be, it'll be posted as YouTube as well, but it won't be part of the digital promotion. So the talent show will be part of our end of the year video that we post to YouTube, but is watched in SEL on the 16th. Good question. Okay, any other questions relative to our end of the year calendar? And then we'll open it up. I have some general questions from the Cocoa with Carrie. We have some other additional questions from families here. Let me see if I missed any other questions. Oh, sorry. It looks like we had an incorrect link posted. Thank you for letting us know. We'll double check that in the future to get to the Cocoa with Carrie. Okay. All right, sounds good. I think that's all I have. Okay, so next up, we just have some questions. So I know, Shamitha, you mentioned that you had a question, then I'll jump into the ones that we have that were pre-submitted on the Cocoa with Carrie.
Okay, thank you, Carrie, for holding the third Cocoa with Carrie. This is fantastic. My question has to do with, it's kind of a two-part question. You know, when we have, you know, really fantastic teachers, and I know this has been such a tough year for teachers, you know, who have really gone above and beyond. I know we can nominate them for the Outstanding Educator Award, but, you know, say 14 nominations come in and just 3, you know, teachers are selected, that information is actually confidential. So there's no way to know who the other 11 teachers are and, you know, kind of all the wonderful things that were said about them. And I'm just wondering if there is a way for parents to just let you know that, you know, we're having just a really fabulous experience with this teacher, or this teacher really went above and beyond, you know, in kind of a nice, you know, positive way. So that's kind of part one of my question. And part two is the other flip side of that is when parents are having, you know, some challenges with a particular teacher. You know, for the most part, parents are pretty good about not discussing that in social media because it's kind of viewed as being disrespectful. And, you know, sometimes it might be really minor, like, oh, a teacher's losing an assignment, maybe it's my kid's fault. And unless, you know, they happen to bump into, you know, other parents and the parent says, oh gosh, I'm having this problem, you know, with assignments, they won't know that, you know, this kind of stuff is happening. And I'm just kind of curious what, you know, what should parents be doing in cases like that, you know, because we want to make sure, you know, this is so hard for teachers that, you know, they get the support that they need to be successful.
Yeah, great question. So what I would recommend in all of those situations is to reach out to us as administrators. I will say we've had families that reach out during the whole school year to say, just FYI, this staff member is doing an amazing job, really connected with my kid. In a year where it's been so challenging and so negative, a lot of the time it is so helpful to the staff members to get positive messages like that. And so, and especially I think knowing that their bosses see like the positive reviews, I think it's just, it's a little light in a dark tunnel. So anytime you have positive feedback to share, please send it to us and CC the teacher, because it's a great opportunity to just say, hey, thank you for your work. And we get those all the time. And I know staff value those intensely. Like there's such a kind of a bright hope when things are, you know, getting hard. On the flip side of that, I would say if you ever have a concern or a challenge that you're working on with a teacher, please again reach out to the administrators. We are here to help process through those steps. And so we generally start with per our district regulation is we always say, okay, let's first touch base with the teacher and work through, have you connected and communicated with them on your concern or your question. We help partner. We can be there the whole way with you. We can have, it depends on the level of it. We might meet with you first. We might just meet with the staff member, but we always try to connect and help support that process. But please know you can always bring questions or concerns to us directly. Absolutely. And we can work with you on those. So both of those come to us directly. That would be wonderful. And we're happy to help support in the fun ones and the tough ones. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Any other questions before I jump into the Cocoa with Carrie? Questions that were pre-submitted. Let me see if I missed any other questions in the chat. Oh, I had another question about plans for welcoming incoming sixth graders in person over the summer or before. So we will have a couple of opportunities for sixth graders specifically, and then some for everyone that would like to come on campus. But we have our Panther days. Oh, and let's see, I asked, let me make sure I can have the dates. I can share the dates. Those happen in August. Let me look at my schedule. It looks like they're not on my August calendar yet. Teresa or Becky, would you be able to check real quick with Sandy and see when those dates are so that we can share those? They are usually 1 or 2 days in August where we call them the Panther days, and families can come in, look around. We don't know that we'll be using lockers yet, but that's usually a day where they can get their locker combination, go check out the school. So we will still be doing a version of that, whatever that is. We'll have the school open and families and students can come explore and look around, and generally they can visit the PTSA table, maybe order some logo wear, get their PE clothes if we'll be changing for PE. So whatever it is, we'll at least at the minimum have the building open so students can come explore and look around and see what the school's like. So that's for everyone, including sixth graders. And then the second part to that plan is we have the web program, which is called Where Everyone Belongs, which is a program that works with our incoming sixth graders. And then we have our 8th grade student leaders that mentor small groups of students. And we set up, we have a day before school starts where all the 6th graders come, and it's a day to kind of get to know each other in small groups, get to know the school. They get to know some 8th grade leaders that they can lean on and ask questions of. And then there's some ongoing web or where everybody belongs activities that will happen during the school year once it starts for the first part of the year to help connect 6th graders as well. So those are our 2 that we have currently planned. And then we generally as well, just if there's any incoming 7th and 8th grade, especially this year as we have the boundary changes, some new to IMS students, we in the past have had a part of the big piece to the web program is the 6th grade piece, but we also in the past have had a smaller like 1-hour visit for any new to IMS students to come and check it out and participate as well. So watch for all of that messaging to come out as we go through the summer, but we'll have a few different opportunities for that. I have one more question. Will district laptops be issued to in-person kids for 2021-22? That is still to be determined. I think those are still decisions being made. I know discussions are happening, so I just don't have an update on that currently. Yes, and Becky, were you able to get the Panther Camp days?
Not yet, but we'll make sure to send it out.
Okay, we'll include it in our, I know they're scheduled. I'm so sorry I don't have it on my schedule yet. And I think this happened last time we asked, and then anyway, we'll get it there. I know it's happening in August for sure. Okay, let's move to the Cocoa with Carrie questions. We had just a few submitted. Let me get to them. Okay, there was a question. This is one question. Will in-school mental health counseling and the voice mentoring program continue at some point? And I believe this question is relative to some of the budgetary cuts that were announced for the 21-22 school year. So currently those systems are still up and running in our schools this year to carry out this year. Just so you know, next year at the middle school level, we are still having our in-school Swedish mental health full-time counselor. So that changes, that's not a change that will happen for us. At the secondary level, we'll still have a full-time counselor on site and we'll work in the same capacity that she's been working in the last couple of years. Her name is Catherine Lincecum, and she's amazing. We're so grateful to partner with her on site. The voice mentoring program, that's something that I believe was part of the budget cuts that were made, but I'm sure that will be part of an ongoing discussion. That's a huge tradition and such a welcome program to help support our students through our school. So my hope is that we can return to having that be a part of the ISD as soon as possible. And so I think they might just be working on what that could look like and how it could work. So I don't have any specific updates on that from the district level, but looking forward to having voice continue in some capacity moving forward. More to come on that. The next question was, after watching the Washington State PTSA back to school webinar and seeing the discussion about the plan for fall being full return, if spacing is still required, how is this physically possible? What is the backup plan? So that's a good question. We are currently working. So the interesting piece is with our current COVID protocols, and of course we're always operating under what could possibly change moving forward, but the current COVID protocols, as soon as we drop below a certain number, then we can have students. Right now we have students, if we were above the 200 cases per 100,000 in King County, we had to keep 6 feet of distance in classrooms, student to student and student to staff. So once that number drops below 200, we're able to consistently, there's kind of a threshold, then we're able to go back down to the at least 3 feet of social distancing in the classroom to be able to follow the protocols and the what's the word I'm looking for, the expectations of what the classrooms look like. So we are on the verge. I believe we just dropped down in the last couple of days back down under 200. And so once we have that consistent piece, we're able to go back to the 3 feet of social distancing in classrooms. That essentially, we can almost do our regular, essentially we can do the regular numbers that we have in a classroom during a regular year. We just can't have the same kind of, I know a lot of times at middle school, we have the table groupings, but we'll have 4 desks grouped together so kids can work together, which it might just mean that we have rows of kids lined up with at least 3 feet between where they're sitting, but we can essentially be at full capacity in that way and still be following that guideline. So our plan is, if we get, down to that number and we have a full start and where we can be at least 3 feet, we can have school essentially as normal. By only, we will be very creative. I think that the main area of focus that we're working on is what lunches could look like, because 3 feet at lunches, we just need to be able to make sure we have space for everyone, but we have backup plans that include having some students eat outside. And if your students have been attending on site, you'll see we have a whole bunch of new tables that are outside with canopies. So we have this huge covered area outside right now. We would also open up our gyms and have students spread out there if we needed to as well. So we have lots of what ifs and contingency plans, especially for our more open times like lunch. But the rest of the time in the classrooms, we expect that we'll be able to have everybody in the classrooms participating in that way. Okay, let's see. Okay, here's another question. And this question is relative to, there's a couple of questions here that are relative to some of the, to the teacher, the inappropriate content that was in a teacher's classroom. And then some of the publicity that came out of that through the articles that were online. And we had a small group of families protesting one day before school, same thing that happened a few weeks ago. So both of those I'm not able to share a lot, but I'll share what I can. So we did have a question because on one day, and we found out right before school that it was happening, but I think the story broke and we found out about it this week. And then Friday that morning, there were some community members that wanted to do a small protest in front of the school. And so just so you know, from our lens is that we have very specific on-campus property, but the sidewalks belong to the city. And so as part of just being a part of a community, anyone that would like to protest on city property is able to do so. And so on occasion, we'll have some people for different situations that protest down on 2nd Avenue on the sidewalk, and it's part of city property, and it's something that they can do as part of their civic right. So on this day, on that Friday morning, we had a small group of families show up with some signs. We were keeping an eye on it, and we were working with the Issaquah High School security just to make sure that they were only on the sidewalks. We had 0 reports as we were watching it that they were talking to students there other than saying hi as they walked through. They were just wanting to be a presence there. And so the question here is, that we had is there were some questions of students that came home. I asked staff to just let students know. You may have seen some protesters on site. People have a right to let us know how they're feeling about public education, and that's what that was, is students, or it's just families and individuals expressing their concern about some current situations. And so that was what teachers shared with them, but then some students may have come home and had some additional questions about that. I had communicated that week kind of what I could relative to the situation, so we weren't able to communicate more, and we don't necessarily send out communications when there's non-disruptive protests that happen near our facilities, which is what this one was. So there's a question is, can protesters be asked to protest across the street so that students don't have to walk by them? We can ask them, but they have a right to be where they were, and they were not being disruptive as we were watching them. There was a current concern that students are not vaccinated and protesters may not be vaccinated either, which is very true. But it's the same situation. If we walk on any public street anywhere, then that could be the situation there. So a little bit of a unique situation. We had our eye on it and we're watching it carefully. And it was just an opportunity for some community members to express how they were feeling at that time.
Carrie, as a follow-up to that, do we contact the Issaquah police then specifically? Because, you know, the students only have one path where they can come to school. And if this wasn't a pandemic, it would be different, right? You know, but you know, these protesters could be posing an imminent health concern to the students who, you know, that's how they have to walk to get to school. So is Issaquah police the right group to take this to, just to say, you know, not, you know, free speech, absolutely, but, you know, we just need to be aware here, because I was researching some of this stuff that was going on, and these are COVID deniers, anti-maskers, and I just really felt for, you know, the students that had to walk by that.
Sure. I think that would be a good start if you have a concern about anything that like that would happen on like some city property. Absolutely, that would be a good place to start. The other thing that I would recommend is to talk with your students, because we do have multiple entry points. And so if they ever walk by or in a situation where they don't want to walk by someone towards that main, they were protesting right by the lights as we turn into where the cars come in. But students can walk up the back and enter the back of campus that way and around the front of the building. So there's a couple different ways that they can access our property. So just, it might be a good opportunity to let your students know is that if you ever are walking and there's something or someone in the way that they don't want to go by, there's other ways to get onto campus as well. But yeah, I think that's a good, if you have concerns, definitely start with the Issaquah police. Good question. And then somewhat relative to that question, we had someone ask the question about the specific teacher involved and if there's an update that we can give on that situation. And just a reference to some of the articles that were online that were critical of even our ISD parents and some of the comments that were made. I will say that this situation, without being able to discuss in detail, just because it's currently an active situation that we're working on, the situation was addressed. The staff member is not in the classroom right now, and we do not plan to have that staff member based on the school board meeting minutes that were public at the last meeting. You can look and see, but that staff member will not be joining us for next school year. I will say this brought up lots of questions and lots of attacks to a lot of different groups of people, and we're just not. A lot of it is we just kind of have to bear what comes at us. And there were lots, believe me, we got lots of communications from many different community members. I would even say around the world were calling and emailing us about this situation. And so there's not a lot that we can do when people call us things or say things to us as a community outside of, it's just not something that we can necessarily always defend. Just know that as a principal, I'm always trying to do the absolute best to help protect our students, keep them safe. And if anyone ever has concerns, to please reach out to us as a building, and we will work on it. This specific situation, it rolled out pretty quickly that week by the time we found out that it had happened, even though it had happened weeks earlier, we just were never informed. So anyway, I'm sorry, I'm not able to share very many more details there. I just know that it was a tough situation, and I appreciated the community's support. And honestly, I'm so grateful that families felt like they needed to reach out about this, because And we had a talk with students as well. Like if you're ever seeing something, even from a staff member, a teacher, and you're uncomfortable about it, there are so many adults that you can talk to. So I would just ask that parents continue to partner with their students. Like even if it's someone at school, come talk to us if they have questions or concerns, and we'll work with them on that. So we want to just encourage them to always know that there's multiple people that they can talk to, and they should never feel like they don't feel comfortable about something happening. So, so anyway, I've got one more. Next question is, can the school or the district send out an update on the Liberty feeder pattern issue? So I can give a little bit of background. As far as I understand, this issue is that there was part of this came out as part of the boundary committee, but part of it, I think, was in addition that at some point the Cougar Ridge community was noted on a document that they would eventually be going to the Liberty High School feeder pattern. And then the miscommunication about that. And then there's a question if there will be a district or school-wide communication about this to ensure that the information is correct. So part one to this that at least I was involved with is part of the boundary committee work that we did for a few different months there and deciding on the middle school boundaries. There was on one document, there was a miscommunication, or it was noted incorrectly that that Liberty High School was a feeder pattern for some of the schools, including I think Cougar Ridge. And so what we did is we updated the data as part of that boundary review committee and made very clear that the decisions around the high school feeder patterns have not been made, nor were they part of our boundary work that we did in that first round. So all of the high school decisions around boundaries and feeder patterns are going to happen with the next round of boundary review that I believe will happen this next coming year as they plan for the opening of the new high schools that are currently being built. So my understanding is that stemmed from an error. It was corrected, but then there was I think just some ongoing communication about that. But from my understanding is it was communicated out. So I think it's just maybe some ongoing questions about who received that and when they saw it and the questions that came from that. So just know officially from our lens, there has been no decisions about feeder patterns and where they're going. And then I do know that this likely stemmed from an incorrect, something that was sent out and posted as part of the boundary review work that was incorrect. And I believe that's been fixed. So there's no decisions about where that's going yet. That's part of the next step of our boundary work. Okay, those are all the pre-submitted questions that I have. I'll give another couple minutes. Does anyone have any additional questions that they would like to ask? Feel free to type them into the chat. Okay, it says, anyway, it looks like the incorrect information was on the transportation page. So I'll dig into that a little bit more and make sure that everything's been updated. I'll ask the district to follow up on that one. Thank you. All right. Any other questions?
Oh, and Carrie, I think this is mentioned already. The e-news that went out this morning had the wrong Zoom link.
That's what
right. And so that might be why our attendance is a little low, but you're so fantastic about posting the YouTube link, and we'll share that out there.
Thank you. Yeah, so we'll continue to work on that and double check our links. I apologize for that, but we will have this posted to YouTube and we'll include that in the e-news as well. So anyone that missed is able to watch that, and then we'll do our best to update this. I think this is our official last one of this year, but I feel like it's been a great experiment, and we will plan to continue these next year going forward for some ongoing times to check in with the community. So we'll make sure that we work on exact correct links moving forward. And it would be great if at some point we can start doing these in person. But I do also love doing them on Zoom because it means that anyone can join in from wherever they are, which is really nice as well. So, all right. Well, if anyone has any additional questions, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Ms. Cowan or Ms. Mulvane. We're always here to help and answer questions. And then we'll watch and we'll make sure to have this posted in the e-news that comes out early next week so that anyone else can watch. And it will also be on YouTube even sooner. So if you want to see the IMS YouTube page, that will be there. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Have a good day, a good weekend.